really try to lean in and listen to what the Lord is saying, and not just always just give you guys a sermon or something like that, but I really want to give you the word of the Lord. And when we had the prayer meeting on the Wednesday night before, when Brother Aaron was here, the Lord spoke about this being a year of work and warfare. And I asked the Lord about that, and I feel like we're going to expand upon that. So if you want to maybe make some notes, I'm not going to talk very long this morning unless there's something I don't know about from the Lord's hand. But if you want to write this down, you can write down 2022, the year of work and warfare.
Amen.
The year of work and warfare. And just to let you know, the Lord spoke to me as soon as I woke up this morning. The word I feel like the Lord had for me for this year, and the word that I feel like that Jacqueline felt like the Lord gave her for this year is actually like coincides with what I'm preaching on this morning. So this morning's work and warfare tonight will be from consistency to completion, and they really go hand in hand. And so, the year of work and warfare. And so, what does that mean? What does it mean, work and warfare? Work, you can maybe draw a line underneath it, make a dash, and you can simply know that's the assignment the Lord has for you, either personally or even us corporately. That's your assignment personally, and what He has for us corporately. Your personal assignment does fit underneath the umbrella of what He has us do corporately. But when we're talking about work, that's what we're talking about, what your assignment is. And everybody has a different assignment, and I'll expand upon that in a little bit. But as far as warfare, I want to touch on it mainly first, because I just feel like that's what the Lord said to do. But warfare just simply means the battles. It's the battles. I need to make a statement for everybody here this morning so you know this. I really felt this is the first thing the Lord said about this. He said, your work is not your warfare. In other words, the warfare is not the work we are called to. And in a way, I feel like the Lord said, don't look for a fight, but be prepared for the fight comes. It doesn't mean, just like, for example, we have an unadvertised deliverance ministry. Do you know how many times people have come to us? God sends us the people we need. There's a ton of people out there that have spirits that need deliverance. We can go out and look for them, but God kind of sends them to us. So they kind of find their way here. They creep in. They show up here when I'm up here studying sometimes, beating on that window outside. It happens. So just know that we don't necessarily have to go looking for the warfare. The warfare is going to kind of come to us because you need to know this. The warfare means there's battles. Battles speak to the opposition and the obstacles. You need to know that what we try to do in the Lord this year is going to be opposed. I simply just wrote it. We will be opposed. That's what I heard from the Lord. We will be opposed. So just know we will be opposed as individuals and corporately. Now that might sound generic because obviously as believers, the enemy opposes us. He's an accuser of the brethren. We know we have battles. But I really feel like you need to know that we're going to have opposition. This is not going to be a cakewalk. What we're called to do, even this year, has not necessarily been necessarily easy. What we do right now, not having worship, not really having, what we do is not norm. It's unique. And so there's opposition because we don't fit that. We don't have people understanding us. So you need to know this, that opposition does come through people. And there's a couple of things I feel like the Lord wants me to say about that. Let me just say our battle is not with people. Obviously, because of what Ephesians 6:12 says, that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, rulers of darkness. So the enemy, we fight spiritual battles, but just as God will use a man or a woman to advance His gospel, preach His gospel, be an agent of deliverance, an agent of change, the enemy is a copycat. He uses people to advance His kingdom. So you need to always remember that God, God will use people. The devil uses people too. Sometimes it's a family member. Sometimes it's another ministry leader, a church, a denomination. But the devil uses people. He brings misunderstanding. Y'all have heard me talk about that a lot. I think I even share it on Facebook. I'm learning to be okay with being misunderstood, because you will be misunderstood. Jesus was misunderstood. He was opposed because some people set themselves to misunderstand, and then there's some well-meaning people who do not understand. I can tell you, there's been some well-meaning people that have tried to sway me to do different things in the past that I didn't feel like I was called to do. Just because people oppose you does not mean they're the devil incarnate or give you a reason to walk in offense.
Come on, great. Yeah.
Here's what I want you guys to know. You have to have this heart posture. Know that people are going to oppose you, but you can't walk around with this chip on the shoulder like, I'm going to show you then. That's the wrong heart posture.
Right.
You cannot carry that heart posture. You have to know they're going to be opposed, or they're going to misunderstand, and you have to fight your critics with silence.
Yes, that's so good.
Sounds, I know you've probably heard me say it many times, but again, the Lord brings that. We just have to walk in obedience and just know it's going to come. And you have to, how do I fight this battle? You do all having stood. You have to stand, doing all to stand. That's what the word says, right?
Yeah.
Okay?
That's good.
They're going to oppose you. You just keep walking with the Lord. Damon Thompson preached a message years ago that said, opposition indicates potential. Opposition indicates potential. Know this, that the kingdom of hell only fights what it's threatened by. And if you look through your past, and the hell that you went through was the very hell that was trying to oppose you, because hell saw what was in you. Think about that. I look back from the time I was a kid, I always struggled with people saying things about me. Even from the beginning, people always had something to say about what I wore, my shoes, my hair. Now I have none. They say nothing. They say something about my bald head, the way I look, my ears, my teeth, the way I did things. Hell has always fought that. Almost every ministry transition I've been through, I've always been told I was wrong. You don't need to do this. You don't need to go there. You didn't need to leave there. I can tell you from the time I went out to Southwestern, the Bible school, when I left there to come back to youth pastor, mistake. Left that church to go another place. I think you made a mistake. Left Pocahontas to move to Hot Springs. Just because the pastor's leaving don't mean you got to leave. You're making a mistake. Left the church to go to Teen Challenge. You walked outside your calling. Go leaving Teen Challenge to travel full time. Don't you know you're supposed to be the next director here? People would tell me that. Try to sway me. Traveling as an evangelist. Even this. People try to sway me. And so you need to know that all that history that I dealt with was hell trying to oppose what was inside of me. The same thing with you. You need to know that the reason you are opposed is because of the potential of God that's in you. Matt Mueller, when he preached in this building for the first time, we were not even open publicly. I don't even know if we had flooring down yet. But he said this, thank God that what you are doing is worthy of opposition.
Right. Right.
So we're talking about, people think about warfare and they get overwhelmed by that or start getting anxious. We don't have to be anxious. Yeah, there's going to be a battle. Yeah, there's going to be a fight. But you can be thankful for that because that tells you you're doing something right. Now, sometimes we bring some stuff upon ourselves when we don't do things we should. So there's that. There's a lot of people that always think, I'm always in warfare and I got this going on all the time. And it's their own doing. But when you walk in obedience and there's a fight, that is a good indicator that, hey, you're on the right track. So just know that opposition indicates potential. Thank God that what you're doing is worthy of opposition. But having to stand and fight the opposition is not the work. It's just part of something that's going to happen as a result of you doing what God has called you to do here. Okay? So what about the work? What is the assignment? What is your assignment? The ministry. You know, the Bible talks about doing the work of the ministry. Ephesians 4:11. I'm called to equip the saints for the work of service. So what is the work that we are to give ourselves to? There's two different things I'm going to bring up. The first thing actually contains two different words. And I'm going to talk some more, I think, on this tonight. But really, when it comes to our assignment, we're talking about the gospel. Okay, we're talking about, what is the Great Commission? There's Matthew 28 and there's Mark 16. Mark 16 says to go into all the world and preach the gospel. In other words, win souls. Matthew 28 says, go therefore into all nations and make disciples. And we've heard it taught on that that's the Great Commission. One says preach, win souls. The other one says make disciples. Which one is right? They're both right because you really can't have one without the other. However, the emphasis for most of my Christian life has been on Mark 16, on winning souls. But going forward, our emphasis is actually going to be on Matthew 28 because this is what we have. We have a lot of babies being birthed, but no spiritual parents raising them.
Right. Yes, come on.
So when it comes to outreach, getting more people, I love the idea, but here's the deal. Until you are equipped to raise about 10 babies, we're not really set up to go and bring in a bunch of people. Because think about, we are going to be known for two things. What did God say during the reset? We're going to be known for prayer, deliverance, and revival. Okay, think about all the people that were touched, like in different moves of God, like Brownsville, different places like that. But they were born in the Spirit of God. They had a lot of good things happen, but no spiritual fathers or mothers to raise them up. Where are they? It's kind of like birthed and just thrown out. And that's not that God wasn't in that movement or that it was wrong or nothing like that. That's not putting a knock against that movement. I wish I could have experienced that because I believe that they experienced something in that move of God that I have not tasted myself. I've longed for it, just have not tasted it. But what I am saying is, why would God give us what we have cried out for when we are not equipped to pour in and raise up? So like the emphasis this next year is going to be on the discipleship part. And there's two main things I feel like the Lord said in regards to our assignment. What is our assignment? Now, maybe speaking corporately here more than individually, but it does fit into your individual. I got it written down, but it doesn't really come out the way that I felt like with how the Lord said. I'm going to put this. Our assignment is the cultivation of an atmosphere of power encounters. How do you do that? Prayer and fasting. What is the assignment? The focus. It's prayer, and fasting is also added to that. And I'll dig a little deeper on that. We've already been emphasizing prayer since August the 8th. We started Sunday morning gatherings on August the 8th, and lo and behold, watch out what you do when you preach a message on pride and how it humbles people. We've been in a quote-unquote reset. And some may still say we're in this reset, but I think the reset is a reformation of a new norm that we emphasize prayer. We will continue to focus on this prayer emphasis. Lingering, praying. You should be a person of prayer outside of here, but we are focusing on prayer. I don't remember when I said it, but I think it was by the Spirit of God on a Sunday night service. I said that there was a certain hill that we would die on. What was that hill? The hill of prayer. Prayer is the hill which we die on. And I feel like God just continues to say, this will be the emphasis. You will hear me teach on prayer. And not only prayer, but fasting. Okay? I know that, and I've seen a lot of people advertise on Facebook, their church is doing a 21-day fast. That's great if you want to do one. I don't necessarily feel called to ask you to do a 21-day fast, but this is something that's been in Jacqueline and I's spirit for a while. Nikki brought this up, so I know it's the Lord. But I'm asking you, I don't want it to be legalistic or anything like that, but I really feel like the Lord said Water Fast Wednesday. We can be consistent with small days of fasting and prayer through the year. A lot of people, this is the mindset, they binged on food between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then they don't really push in spiritually, so they make up for their food binge and their lack of spiritual pursuit in November and December by a 21-day fast in January. Like somehow it makes up for it. You know, people when they prepare, Mardi Gras is, people go to Mardi Gras and they give themselves a sin before they go into Lent, And we like, well, we point the finger at the Catholics, but in the evangelical church, we actually, we got that too. Huh? Thanksgiving to Christmas is our Mardi Gras. We get on them for a few days, and we done had weeks of feasting. Okay? So, I think that this is what the Lord is wanting us to do. Not that anybody is doing it wrong because they're doing a 21-day fast in January, whenever. But I do believe that this Water Fast Wednesday, a consistent day of fasting, is what God is calling this body to corporately. Yep. Now, if you show up Wednesday and you didn't fast, don't think you can't come to church next week because you didn't fast. Okay? So don't beat yourself up. Or if because you skipped breakfast but somebody brought donuts and you ate the last half a donut at 11:59 a.m. before lunch because you just couldn't make it, there's not condemnation, but this is something we need to begin to give ourselves and to grow in. Dr. Bob Rogers, he actually wrote the book, The 21-Day Fast. If you've never read the book, The 21-Day Fast, get on Amazon somewhere, order it. Even if you're not planning to fast for 21 days, it is still excellent to read because it'll help build your faith for fasting. Okay? But he also wrote a book called How to Be Like Jesus in 40 Days.
Wow.
And he talks about the discipline of fasting. And he said this: pick one day a week to fast and fast the same day every week. It brings consistency. He said it builds into your spiritual life. And said your body will actually become accustomed to it. It'll go into a natural groove. There's something about having, like let's say if you don't ever plan a time to pray, if you don't schedule a time to pray, you won't pray. Okay? If you don't schedule a time to fast, you won't fast. Jojo Dawson says whenever he gets done with one fast, he automatically schedules his next one. Okay? So consistency. I might be stealing my message tonight. I don't even know. I just know I have the title. I might be already preaching it. It's just going to overlap. Okay? So, but this is where we have to be consistent with our prayer life and with this fasting. Water Fast Wednesday. If you can't make a whole day, skip at least one meal. Then when you get to where you skip a meal, go to 2, and then get the grace to go to 3. Okay? So prayer and fasting cultivates an atmosphere for us for power encounters, because when we start having revival style meetings on Sunday nights again, and if the Lord says, hey, let's run with it some on Sunday mornings, we have that happen, what is going to cultivate that atmosphere? I don't think it was by mistake the Lord had me play off of YouTube some of our spontaneous worship we've done. I don't know, but it just feels, it's like, this is us. This is us, baby. This is us, man. Like, oh, home, And so that's who we are. And I think it's good to remind that what cultivates that and is going to amplify that, what we've experienced in the past season, is learning to pray and dig into fasting. Every major milestone in transition in my ministry and my life has come through fasting. Deliverance happened through 40 days of fasting and prayer. Before I left Teen Challenge to go to travel full time, I fasted for 40 days. Almost every time God opened new doors, I'm on an 8-day fast, a fast for new beginnings. God would open 3 new doors, pastors I had not preached for before. Before we went public with this ministry, we had an 8-day fast. We need to be a ministry that's given to fasting. We talk about, y'all heard me preach about Samson so many times. I actually had the opportunity to go around the Teen Challenge a few days ago, and I preached on Samson. Those guys ate it up. They ate it up. I needed that word. And Peter Destiny, what was crazy is when I was on staff there back in 2011, a guy that came through the program then, he was there decided to come back and get another dose. He had backslid, and he said the message I preached was right where he needed to feed our destiny. You know he's called, you know he's got to walk in his calling, and he's going to do it when he graduates the program this time. So God has his way, but that Samson consecration is a lifestyle of fasting. Why could he not eat grapes and drink wine? It had nothing to do with the substance of the food. It didn't have anything to do with being alcohol or non-alcoholic. It was a consecration to a lifestyle of fasting and prayer.
Yes.
And so that's what we are called to. What is the word that was given to Samson's mother? She had to take on that same consecration to receive. You want to conceive what, like, your call and birth your assignment? Like are you supposed to lead a ministry? You want something like that? You got to consecrate yourself. That's what Samson's mother was told. We are called to consecrate ourselves through prayer and fasting. That's what cultivates an atmosphere of powerful encounters. Okay? Because our assignment is to cultivate the powerful encounter, but then the second part of that assignment is that we would be, and it's kind of interchangeable between you and me. It has to do with the word equip. I am equipping, you are being equipped. This is why. Because if I give you a power encounter, but I give you no equipping to walk out this discipleship thing. Because what is the word? That we'd be a sending port to the nations. We'd have an encounter and then turn around and send people out that same encounter. You can't send people out if they're not equipped to do the things that we're doing here. So really, my assignment is to give myself to prayer and fasting and to the ministry of the word. Your assignment is to give yourself to prayer and fasting so you can be equipped fully, so whenever God pours out, there's souls come in. I'm not trying to raise up 100 spiritual babies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 of you here that can take 10. And there's a few others out here this morning. Maybe they're the babies. No, I'm just kidding. There's people that are sick and out of town still and all that stuff. So, but what I felt the Lord say in regards to the twofold assignment between prayer and fasting and equipping is this: is give yourself to this teaching. We were talking this morning in my office about the false teaching that there's so many winds of doctrine, which really encouraged me to hear you say it, because from the Lord, I felt like the Lord was saying, don't lose this teaching kick that you're on. Really, I'm really going to dig down and give you some really meaty stuff. Or at least I think I am, Lord. By your grace, I will. But I'm going to really work hard at equipping you. My sole assignment is not to figure out how many outreaches and stuff we're going to do and all that. That's not even on my radar. If the Lord wants to do an outreach later this year, one of you going to have to organize it and come up with it, because my assignment is to dig in and give you quality, sound doctrine. So in 1 Timothy 4, 14 and 15, this is the verse the Lord had me want me to give you in regards to giving yourself to teaching, was this. It says in 1 Timothy chapter 4, beginning in verse 14, do not neglect the spiritual gift within you, which was bestowed on you through the prophetic utterance with laying on of hands by the presbytery. Now, Timothy was a spiritual son. He was a pastor. And I know not all of you are necessarily pastors. But you need to pay attention to what verse 15 said, what Paul said to Timothy. The same thing with you. Take pains with these things, be absorbed in them, so that your progress will be evident to all. With what we teach on prayer, what we teach on fasting, what we teach, and we'll be teaching on in the coming weeks. And I haven't forgot to keep elaborating and going deeper on discerning prophetic word, true or false. Okay, I'm not finished with that yet. I'll finish that up and we'll jump into prayer. But be absorbed in this teaching. Know what is sound. Know what is true. Because there's so many winds of doctrine, and there's going to be people that will come here, experience an encounter. But even this last week, guys, I ran into somebody at the Teen Challenge Vintage Mall, and they were telling me who was influencing their life and who was now a spiritual mentor for them. I'm like, they are going to be so confused here in a few months. And so you have to be careful who you let into your life. And when these people come, it's going to be messy. And you're going to need to know what is sound and what is just every wave and wind. Because we're going to get a lot of tossed people. We've had a lot of tossed people come in and out, and they don't stay because there's some stability here. There's not chaos here. But I felt like the Lord said, give yourself to the teaching. We are called to, yes, preach the gospel, win souls, and make disciples. We were called to be fruitful and multiply. But if you want the multiplication, you have to be prepared to be parenting. Listen, it's hard work sometimes to win souls. Okay? It is hard and painful labor. Let me just back up and say this. There's several ladies in here who have had babies. Some of them will have some at the right time. Yeah, what the heck? That's right. When a woman is in labor, it is very painful. It's a lot of work. But the real work, and sometimes the real pain, comes the next 18, 19, 20 years of raising that child. That's where the real work begins. You have intense pain for a very short period of time. And sometimes preaching the gospel is like that. It can be hard going to air and preaching the gospel. Then you have a few people get saved, and there's so much joy when they get saved, just like there's so much joy when the baby's born. Everybody sees it, and oh, how cute, look how new, and it just brings such joy. New converts bring joy. But then the next, all the diapers you got to change, bottles, all the stuff there, that's where the real work begins. And we just want to see people birth, but we don't want to change any diapers. We don't have patience teaching them to walk. We don't want to raise them to spiritual maturity, because everybody wants the pleasure without the what? The responsibility. And so I had preached that for about 2 years before this was really, or about a year, really the year that this thing was birthed. Matter of fact, it was April. It was April the 7th. No, April the 8th. It was my birthday 4 years ago this April. My birthday's April the 8th. Oh, wow, that's cool. April the 8th of 2018, the Lord gave me the word about the pleasure without the responsibility. I preached it on a Sunday morning at Green Grove Assembly of God in El Dorado, Arkansas, for my friend Rich Murphy. And almost a month later, God called me to start this. How interesting, because that's when the Samson revelation really began to develop, and I really was preaching it a lot. Everything that I was preaching was what I was called to steward. We have to learn to take the responsibility. Work and warfare will become weary. Some of y'all need to write this down. right at the bottom. Here you go. I ain't had this in my notes. This is the word of the Lord to close this teaching out this morning. Work and warfare becomes weary outside of the context of family. The reason why people and pastors get wore out, weary from doing their work and fighting all the battles is because we don't have a community,
Right.
a family. We must be family.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so good.
And you guys, let me tell you, man, y'all, some of y'all got that little Christmas box and wrote those notes. And even me and Jacqueline were talking this morning. We just didn't feel like we were really worthy of anything that you guys wrote or said. But really, we were even talking about, there's some things we want to share with y'all right now. We can't. We have to wait till like next week or the week after that because our family. Some good stuff. Even some stuff y'all prayed for us about. Good stuff that's happening. But you guys really are our family. And we're going to be having some more family gatherings.
Yeah.
Like this morning we in there talking, y'all. I didn't want to even like disrupt it, but even Kevin come in there, he's like, I'm like, yeah, here's my you pastor. Here you go. Like, and so if it wasn't for him, we'd probably still like be in there talking. But we needed to pray. We need to get this word. Thank you, Brother Kevin. Somebody needs to keep me on track. All right, and but the work and warfare will become weary outside the context of family. Let's stick together and love one another, and let's be together. I really think part of the reason too why like we're not necessarily having like worship and stuff too, and the services aren't necessarily as long. We may have some like Jacqueline and I think and Brother Kevin may do some things going forward in the next couple of weeks. But I really think that us just being able to hang and be together and not be so quick to rush out the door is very important. And even scheduling times outside of this where we just gather and get together. So just know that we have to be a family. But when I tell y'all it's time to go home, go home. So I hope you took lots of notes and you'll embrace this. You'll even examine this, put it to the test, what you feel bear witness, and all that, and really examine this because I believe it's the word of the Lord for this morning, and even going forward, our focus, prayer, fasting, is, come be equipped. I'm giving myself to equipping you. Not that I haven't, I feel like equipped you already, but there's just, I know what the Lord's requiring of me going forward, and to get my shovel out for you and really dig down. And but this is really what I feel like the Lord said about this work and warfare year. So, why don't you stand with me? I'm going to pray over you, and then I'm going to let you go.